Let's see if I can get this thing set up here. All right, maybe it's working. We'll see. Okay, let's see how this thing's working. Who we got in there? Hey, stands. Let me get all my electronics working here. Can y'all hear and see everything all right? My professional setup working here. Is that any better? Hey, Rattletrap, how's it going? Hey, Holly. Sound and video okay? Five by five, thank you, ma'am. There's JW. Well, I know it probably hasn't sent out a notification, so I'll give everybody a few minutes here to hang out and say your hellos. $11 watching, y'all. Don't be shy to come in and say hello. Hey, Diane. It's liable to get a little crazy tonight. Well, thanks, Holly. We've been working on it. Tina, evening. Stuart. Oh yeah, Stuart. I got the hat on, man. So we might get pretty deep tonight. I need all of y'all to get involved. Bring your thoughts and theories out. We'll discuss them. Nothing off limits. Hey, NCK. Yeah, stands. It's a tremendous amount of work to try and keep it all going. Really, guys, I just want to approach tonight, much like I approach everything else, with a logical, sensible attitude. Hey, Pink. Yeah, listen to JW. Smash that like button. Surely it's got to make a difference now with the AI. Hey, Diane. Rent a piece of the suburbs. Yeah, well, when you rent, it makes it more difficult to kind of do what you want out there. Really, tonight, guys, I just want to discuss everything that's going on. I don't fly by no script here, nothing pre-thought out, predetermined or nothing. I just wanted to get on here and chat with y'all. know most of the attention and focus has been around on where's your 5,000? Yeah. Hey, Drops, good to see you in here. The focus and attention on everything lately has obviously been the tariffs. And with the extension of all the wars going on, starting to go on, evidently, I'm sure y'all have heard Pakistan and India, what they got going on down there. But really, I'm open for discussion on all of it. It's too much for any one person to go through. Even most of the other news channels just kind of hit and miss on what's actually happening. So having y'all's guys' input, more eyes on the, focused on the goings on, it gives us more of an idea of what's happening around the world. Yeah, Drops. China's one of the big focuses. I haven't seen a lot on people dying over there, or from what I can only assume one of the new variant strains they have running around. Most everything I'm seeing on China has to do with the tariff situation. There is no telling what kind of propaganda is coming out everywhere. That's one of the big things I've seen the last few days in propaganda is this Trump tariff trade war with China. Of course, he's coming out and saying, they're going to work out some trade deal. The dealings are going on behind the scenes. And China comes out and totally contradicts that and says that they ain't even talking. All right? There's no telling what's going on in China. We hear a little bit and get a little bit, but the truth and propaganda that comes out of there, take it with a grain of salt and decipher what you can. I heard the other day that just from the last few weeks of what Trump has pulled with the tariffs, there's somewhere near 300 to 400 million people over there unemployed. 300 to 400 million unemployed people is pretty much larger than our whole country, and that's really just, the unemployed that they're telling us about. Well, hello, Bladeworks. Yeah, I'm not fully sure that everyone exactly understands how the tariffs work or how the tariffs are intended to work or what the final outcome of all these tariffs are going to be. They have used them in the past. Hey, Mr. Hollis. They've used them in the past and, to some success, but that was a long time ago, and the world has changed a lot since then. And I don't think anybody can deny the fact of how much we and the rest of the world actually depends on China. Unless we, forget that our country had a lot to do with the upbringing of China. It even goes back before, Clinton and NAFTA and all of that kind of stuff. But when China came onto the scene of being a world producer and manufacturer, they had in full mind of basically taking over the world. And that's very easily done when you are the largest manufacturer. There was a lot of propaganda going around about, we need them, they need us. They need us worse than we need them. We need them worse than they need us. And the proof is going to be in the pudding. I assume probably in the next couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we will start seeing an impact with the tariffs and what's happened so far. Hey, Jen, it takes on an average of probably close to 30 days for some of them container ships, for a large portion of those container ships, to make it from China over here to the U.S. And most of this tariff talk and trade war stuff has only been going on for a few weeks. So the effect that we're now seeing in China, which is, verifiable through several different sources, that the manufacturing and the shipping and the ports in China have pretty much shut down. Many orders that were on the way over at the time that much of this stuff happened are being turned away and turned back. I've heard today, or we've all heard over the past few weeks, the tariffs are on, the tariffs are off, the tariffs are 40%, the tariffs are 100%, the tariffs are up to 3,500% on some items. And basically, here in the U.S., we receive about 70% of our product from China. Yeah, exactly, Hollis. That's kind of what I want to get into is, the dream that Trump is throwing out to all of us. And, I would, on the surface, agree with a lot of what he has done or wants to do, or is getting the American people to believe what he is doing is correct. And it probably is, but again, on a globalist side and community of this, the manufacturing move to China has moved to China over the last 50 years, 60 years, because simply they could provide a cheaper product. And us Americans, as well as the rest of the world, we want a cheaper product. No matter what it is that you're going to buy. I mean, anything from this cup to, microphones, the computer, the phone that we're on. All of these things, come from China cheaper. Simply because they work their people cheaper. I mean, a lot of these people will work, for $20 or $30 a day over in China and make product all day long for $20 or $30. And here, to manufacture that same product, you're going to pay people $20 an hour. Even if you're paying them minimum wage at $10 an hour to make some of this stuff, you see the difference there. Some of these little cheap things that you can buy for $5 or $10 from China, that same little thing here liable to cost you $100 or $150 just from the manufacturing process side of it. And the reason why a lot of this went overseas is the regulation that we have here, whatever it may be, from OSHA to EPA, all of those regulations play a part. So for, the general public to think that they're going to bring manufacturing back over here to make these products is kind of absurd. pay for product there and shipping. You know, they did drop. So I don't know that that's going to be uh, the situation anymore. I've heard that now ships are actually having to pay a docking fee to even dock at a port here in the U.S., and that can be several $1,000,000 just for product tariffs that may or may not be applied, I guess, depending on what's on the ship. I'm not a shipping specialist, but you know, I've seen and read and heard about the ports and everything shutting down in China. And that's just what's from, you know, happening here these last 2 or 3 weeks. And if shipping has shut down in China over the last couple of 2 or 3 weeks, you know, that is product that is no longer going to make it here to the U.S. And even today, if they removed all of the tariffs and shipping started again today, you would be looking at 30 to 45 days before product started arriving here in the U.S. again. Yeah, the 21st century pirates, we've already seen that, Hollis. Remember all of the people stopping and robbing the trains and looting the trains? I know it's happening with 18-wheelers. I mean, most of us probably heard the story of all of the eggs being stolen. I mean, the stuff has really already started. It's just not reported much in the news as to what's happening. But the time scale that we're talking about here has already started. I mean, we are going to see supply chain issues from the tariffs that have already been implemented. And it's, you know, I said a long time ago, I don't think it's going to be necessarily a pricing issue. You're just not going to be able to get the product. I mean, it really doesn't matter how much money you have if the product is not on the shelf for you to buy. And I don't think people realize exactly how far down that it goes that China has us. It is so much that it's unbelievable. I mean, not everybody drives a new car, and just take auto parts, for instance. I mean, we make very few automobile parts here in the United States, whether it be Canada or Mexico. Those are both going to be tariffed. And a major portion of them come out of China. I have already heard people talking about the pricing on some of the parts for automobiles are doubling in price. Yeah, drops, we're definitely going to be seeing some supply chain issues. So if there are things that people have held out on going out and getting, you know, it might be worth the time to go out and try and get those things. Yeah, I just don't see how that's going to work out, Stuart. And the manufacturing over here, I mean, I think it's great that Trump wants to bring all of this manufacturing back home and have American products made, but I don't think most people realize to build a manufacturing facility, you're going to need probably 60 to 80% of the product to build that factory from China. And just think about electric motors. I mean, any of y'all people out there that are familiar with industrial process knows how much electric motors are involved in that process, whether they be for grinding or milling or pumping water or moving product or making air or hydraulics, machining. All of that takes electric motors, and most electric motors come from China. China has already come out and said that, you know, there are no talks going on, and they fully expect the tariffs to go back to zero like they were before. They have no intention of bowing to Trump or the United States. And as far as I'm concerned, I heard a couple of days ago that Trump had pretty much already said that, they were going to work out a trade deal and some of the tariffs were going to be removed or lowered or whatever. And to me, that was a big flinch on the side of the United States. And China took note of that. They very well know they have us over a barrel. The food has always been an issue, Holly. I mean, for the biggest part, probably 70% of the food that we consume here in the United States does not come from America. I mean, I'm from Texas, and it's quite difficult to go to the store and buy a piece of meat that was raised right here in Texas. Yeah, it's a many year long process, drops to get those things going, up and running. And some manufacturing facilities, you could probably be on the 3 to 5 year time period. More technical things would take longer. But even if you're looking at 5 to 10 years on manufacturing, by the time you get that manufacturing facility built, whatever it was that you were intending on building, I mean, an iPhone, a computer, a washer, dryer, anything that's decently complicated, the technology is going to change so much in that 5 to 10 years that by the time you're able to produce or manufacture that product, it's really going to be old technology. So then you're looking at refabbing and retooling in these manufacturing facilities to even bring them up to date to the current technology. Yeah, the thing with China and their minerals, I think they have kind of led the world astray. And maybe not so much led the world astray, but China has resources. They have oil and gold and water, and they have a lot of these minerals within their own country. But they were very smart. And just like the United States, they have gone out, over the last 50 years while they're building their manufacturing base and, gotten these deals and contracts and purchased these rare minerals, not just rare earth minerals, but minerals in general. I mean, China did sign the new big oil natural gas deal with Saudi. They confirmed that up the other day. It's 15 years that they will be getting the deal from Saudi on their oil and gas. But China itself has a lot of oil and gas. Just because we don't see the news or the information that they have there, there's no different in China and Russia and us here. We all have those minerals and natural resources in our countries. So China has them too, but they have chosen not to use them. They have bought and acquired and traded and bartered for minerals all over the world. So even if they can't, get oil and gas from Saudi, they have oil and gas that they can drill for. Hey, Ark Living? Nah, you wouldn't want to do that, man. We might connect to aliens or something if we electrified this thing. No, Russia can't prop up China. But there again, that's where it's become a globalist world. It was their plan all along for the last 100 years. Longer than many of us have been alive, these plans have been in action. It is a global community now. I mean, we get our food from Mexico and Guatemala and South America and Argentina and stuff from all over the world. And unfortunately, we have become a consumer nation here in the United States. We really just don't produce a lot of stuff. Yeah, China gets their minerals from all over the world, just like us. And I think that's probably what a lot of the people don't understand. And it's probably one of my conspiracy theories here is, over the last 150 years, the big names that pretty much built America. I mean, we all know the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the JP Morgans and, those people that really controlled and built America, that built the railroads and got the mineral rights and many of the large patents that we came up with here in the United States. Those are all owned by those families that made them trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And they have basically pillaged our country here for the last 150 years. And through that process, 50, 60, 70 years ago, they started bringing up China. The same people, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the JP Morgans, the investors and their families did the same thing in China. So I would not be surprised at all if they are the same people that are pulling the strings in China. And they're going to do exactly over there what they did here. We had our, industrial revolution here over the last, 150 years or so. This dynasty in America is coming to an end. They have robbed and stolen trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and now they are going to do the same thing to China. They have been building them up for the last 50 or 60 years. They are the top manufacturer in the world, there's no doubt about that. And they will do the same things to them over the next, 100, 150 years, the same families. They have always been in control. It's not necessarily that they hate America highly. It's just the greed that they have. They really just don't care about you. I mean, I don't really think they care enough about us to hate us. It is much like it was long, long, long ago in the Egyptian times. There are pharaohs, kings, and then there are peasants. And, we unfortunately are just the peasants. That's all it is. Those people in control, in charge, are, they just really don't care about us, how it goes one way or the other. They will feed you poison. They will feed you scraps. They will, dangle the carrot in front of you to keep you going and paying you in. And it's all a grand illusion propaganda situation. I mean, just look at what we were promised in the last year going through the election cycle. What, if any of that, has actually happened? Look at the simple stuff. The JFK files were released. What came of that? Did we really find out any new information? Was that truly all of the information? How much of it was redacted? They only let us know what they want us to know, and they fed everybody a few little breadcrumbs to get them all excited. The same thing goes with the Epstein files. I mean, we were all promised that we would see that, but in all honesty, why do you even need to see it? I mean, we all know these people were involved. I don't need some paper or document to tell me that. I already know it. Simply by their denial and the way that they act and what has come out into the public domain so far. We know that they were all involved. Does it matter how far your hand is in the cookie jar when you get caught? I mean, if your hand is in the cookie jar, you might as well reach in there and get all of the cookies because you're caught anyway. I don't really think they would care, ARC, because they have the masses already, and that is the problem. There are a few people that want to say no and stand up and, Even if we just say, leave us alone and let us do our own thing over here, they don't really care because they have the masses behind them. And it goes to the herd mentality. They have enough people following the system that they don't care about the outlying few people. And it's a numbers game. I mean, again, I just really don't think the everyday normal person can wrap their head around how many people we're talking about here. And it's not just us here in the United States. We're actually pretty small on the scale of things, guys. I mean, we only have 350 million people in our country, and that's fairly small on the scale of things. Like I said, they have 350 million unemployed people in China. Then you start talking about the billions of people that are on the planet, and most of them are already in serious trouble. I mean, yeah, you can say get out the pitchforks and we can all join together and come with a plan, but it's suicide mission. So we, the outlying people that don't want to comply, that don't want to go along with it, we're left on the outside of the herd and we're picked off slowly. And for the biggest part, most of us that are old enough to know and understand and remember kind of what a little bit of freedom used to be like. I mean, because it was totally different in the 80s and 90s than it is today. The way most of us grew up as kids is long gone. That world is long gone, never to return. So they have the ability to wait us out. I mean, it's not a problem to wait for our generation to get to be 60, 70 years old to where we can't do anything anyway. I mean, I know a lot of you out there that, approaching 50, okay, it's not as easy to throw on that pack and go running through the woods, running and gunning in some revolution scenario. We can't do it. I mean, it's nice to think that you can, but it's a lot more difficult. Why do you think the military chooses young people? And for the biggest part, those billions and billions and billions of people around the world are already under so far deep control that there's nothing that they can do about it. Just like Canada has become the latest, on all of the gun rights situations that they got going on up there. You're going to have to be able to defend yourself. And when you have people that are willing to kill you with guns, whether that be police or military or UN or whatever it is that you want to call them, and you have pitchforks, it's not going to be an easy battle. I ain't saying that it can't be won, but it's not going to be easy. And we are some of the few left here in America that have a freedom to bear those arms. And unfortunately, most of the people here in America don't use those rights. I think if you did the research, probably, 350, 400 million guns here in the United States are probably owned by less than 40% of the population. So not everyone is armed here in America to defend themselves. It becomes a very big issue. I mean, they really have us under that global thumb. And like I said, probably here in the next few weeks, we're going to start seeing some of those repercussions from these tariffs. Not only are things going to be higher, but that supply chain is going to break down. And the longer that this goes on, all right, the worse that situation is going to be. Every single thing that you use around your house daily, just take note. Tonight or tomorrow, when you're walking around and the things that you're using, pick them up and look at them and see where they are made. And even if the product itself is not made in China, I think it's somewhere around 70 or 80% of the raw materials, all right, for production manufacturing facilities comes from China. So even to make the product here in the United States, we're going to have to buy that raw material from China. I know Arc Living, he does the type of work that sees that kind of stuff rather quickly. Even a couple of years ago during the COVID shutdown, it was getting difficult to get certain electronic, manufacturing things, which has an effect on everything else. The simplest things are going to become difficult. From the clothes that you wear, the shoes that you wear, the eyeglasses that you use. I mean, we haven't even began to talk about the medication right now that is supplied by China. Yeah, Art, I mean, many of us country folk, I guess, I won't even throw everybody into the preparedness homesteader category. But many of us older folks have enough knowledge and fortitude to get by, all right? Many of us have, kids and young kids and would prefer them not to have to live like that. Not that they can't and not that they won't, but it's none of our dream, all right, to have to live like that. It's very difficult. Yes, exactly, Ark. Many things they're putting the brakes on a lot of things. And that's just from the last few weeks of the tariffs. This has only been going on for a few weeks, guys. I think, around the beginning of April 5th or 10th is when some of these things kicked in. And they have only doubled and tripled and gone up since then. So it's not just the meds themselves, Holly. Think about everything that goes along with the medications in the hospitals. I mean, all of the needles and the syringes and the tubes and the gauze and, the thousands and thousands of items that they use every day in a hospital, from the mop to the mop bucket to the cleanser that they put in the water to use. I mean, everything is in some form or fashion probably touched by China simply because of the manufacturing or the raw materials. And again, I'm all about getting it over here into the United States. I just don't see building all of this manufacturing in the next few years. What are people going to do in the next few years while this is going on? I mean, it wasn't just last week, everybody went in and paid your taxes, right? It was tax day. I mean, surely we were going to get rid of the IRS and the income tax and, all of those promises that revolved around the taxes. I even heard some things floating around about property taxes going away. Hey, Art. Thanks for stopping by. But did any of the taxes go away? Still paying our property taxes, still paying our income taxes, still paying those federal taxes to the government. And we got the tariffs kicking in now. Just starting to kick in. So taxes, 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 and the tariffs, they're just going to be a tax, guys. I mean, we are going to be the ultimate ones that are going to pay for all that. As an example, y'all saw my post the other day, I went and bought some new cattle panels to expand out the fence for the goats here around the farm. Well, I just happened to catch them on sale for $26 over at Tractor Supply. But I was talking to Green Thumb Prepper the other day, and he said they are $100 a piece in Canada. So I noticed the tag on mine said made in Oklahoma. But I think the wire that they actually make those from comes from China. So even though the panel may be made in Oklahoma, the raw material comes from China. Yeah, Diane, all you can tell them is no, you know. But that's part of the problem too. I mean, everybody wants to refer back to our Constitution and the ink on the parchment. And, you know, our Constitution was written long ago when God and honesty and integrity meant something. And today, that Constitution has been twisted and convoluted and used against us, the people. The laws have been turned against us, the people. You see it every day. I mean, the 2A, the Second Amendment laws are just outrageous. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward and simple in the Constitution, but yet there are over 5,000 gun laws on the books today. And out of all of those 5,000 laws, who does that hurt? It only hurts the law-abiding citizen because criminals don't care about laws. Look at what goes on in Chicago and Detroit every day. No matter how many gun laws you put into effect up there, the same thing is still going to happen. So who is it really hurting? The law-abiding people that want to protect themselves? Yeah, the whole oil and gas deal here in the U.S., it can be a whole video in itself. Unfortunately, the oil that we pump from the ground here in the United States is not the kind of oil that our refineries have been built here in the United States to refine into gasoline or diesel for that matter. It's a different kind of crude. And since we've had a deal with Saudi for the last 50 years for cheap oil, our refineries have been geared and lined toward refining that kind of oil. So you just don't go get a different kind of oil and pour into the refinery and get the same effect coming out the other end. Those refineries are fine-tuned to run, a certain kind of crude oil. Now, they can be retrofitted, but that takes time and it takes equipment. And where is most of that equipment going to come from? China. Again, lots of electric motors and controllers and digital things that come from there. Now, I wouldn't say they're rebuilt in China. Most of them that go offline, Stuart, are just for repairs or updates or maintenance. The last estimate that I heard would be somewhere around $500 billion to retrofit a refinery to refine West Texas crude. And, ExxonMobil goes and spends $500 billion to fix one of their refineries. Who do you think is really going to pay for that? they're not going to take that $500 billion out of their profit. I mean, you're going to start to see the price of gas go up. With everything that we see going on in the Middle East, I mean, all they need to do is get that spark going in the Middle East, and you're going to see a dramatic change in the gas price here. It could be very well overnight. I know y'all have heard of what's going on with India and Pakistan the last few days or the last week. Ever since they had their little tea event over there, blaming it, on each other. It was y'all, no, it was y'all. And there are some pretty drastic measures that have been taken over there amongst these two countries. I think the biggest of which was India cutting off the water to Pakistan. There's only one river pretty much that comes into that place, and India shut it all down. So when you shut off, the water to a lot of people, I mean, a lot, millions and millions and millions, all of their agriculture, all of their drinking water, all of that water has come to a shutdown. Hey, Bonnie, hey, Texas lady. I mean, Pakistan had come out and told them directly, you shut off the water and that's an act of war. And I actually heard today that Pakistan was considering a preemptive strike on India while they had the upper hand. And both of those countries are nuclear countries. And they just don't have one or two nukes. They both have a lot. So if that, they've been fighting each other over there forever. They just need a reason. We all hear what's going on in Ukraine, and we've all been following the Ukraine deal for a couple of years now. I mean, Biden was providing all of this money and weaponry, and, we were promised it was going to be shut down in 24 hours, and they would take care of it, and they could get a peace deal, and we were going to cut funding and cut the weapons. And what's going on over there today? It's my understanding Putin made one of the largest attacks yesterday that since the war started. Zelensky is not going to help the situation. That dude needs to be gone. What did we do? We were supposed to pull out and quit funding and quit giving weaponry, and the only thing that happened was Europe is trying to pick up that slack, sending them money and weapons and keeping that war going. I even heard again today that Trump said, no, the tariffs weren't off. No, they weren't going to work a deal. The tariffs are still on. So that's only going to affect the situation even worse. I mean, the higher tariffs are only going to make it harder here in the U.S. And it was my understanding a few days ago that most of the large manufacturers and companies had a behind-the-door, closed-door meeting with Trump and told him that it's only going to take a few weeks for these shelves to go bare here in the United States. Everything. Food, parts, your knickknacks and oodads and doodads that you're buying, have bought, replacements for those things, only going to get harder and more expensive. Well, Ukraine used to be the breadbasket of Europe over there. But that country they're going to be in shambles for the next 20 to 30 years. I mean, they want to push the Green Deal on us, and I can't have a wood-burning stove in my house here, but look at what they have done to Ukraine in the last 5 years. Look at the pollution and contamination that has occurred in that country in the last few years. and they want to bitch at me about my wood stove at my house? Come on. And it's not just the agriculture of Ukraine. They have a lot of rare earth minerals that are worth a lot of money that the powers that be see as the future of technology. And my understanding is the ground that Russia has already taken and will not be giving back under any peace treaty is the ground that contains many of those rare earth minerals. I actually heard that Putin had came out maybe yesterday and said that they were willing to agree to a peace deal as long as the ground that they had won so far remained theirs. And of course, Zelensky wouldn't agree to it. So, again, that peace deal is off. You haven't even gotten to Iran yet and Israel and what's going on between them. As far as I know, we are pretty much out of the Iran deal at this point, and Israel is not going to wait around on us. They are planning their own strike, preemptive strike. So that mess there will, again, only get worse as time goes by. And we're going to fight the Houthis in Yemen, all right, down there from the Garcia Air Base with all of our B-2 stealth bombers and half of our Navy over there, keeping the Red Sea and the Suez Canal and all of that traffic, open for the shipping lanes over there. Do we really even need to mention Taiwan and what's been going on with Taiwan for the last couple of years? And even though that we really have no business over there. I mean, I think most of us probably know that the Queen of England, back when she was alive, that treaty became fulfilled. And Taiwan goes back to China. It was originally China's. It was agreed to in the treaty for so many years that they would be a free state. And the Queen signed off on that and gave it pretty much back to China. It's just a matter of them going and taking it. And they will. And I assume now that they have got the U.S. to flinch on this trade war deal that the taking of Taiwan will come sooner rather than later. Yeah, Diane, well, we have been the world police for a very long time. See if I can brighten my screen here. Well, that doesn't seem to work. Maybe it's as bright as it goes. Yeah, Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe over there. But not anymore. I mean, there's no telling how many depleted uranium shells have been fired. And I'm sure just like Laos and Cambodia, you're going to be finding landmines in that place for the next 40 years, unexploded ordnance. I mean, they still find unexploded ordnance in, Europe from World War II 80 years ago. Well, Holly, there's going to be, you can call it a conflict, but there are going to be many conflicts. I mean, Google it and look it up. There are more countries at war right now than countries that are not at war. So at which point do you call it a world war? The trade wars are just starting. Imagine when something big enough happens that China cuts off our medication. All right, you just don't start manufacturing pills overnight here in the U.S. The U.S. leads the world in innovation as far as medical and medical treatments and medical devices. But as soon as those things are made, all right, and understood how they work, the formula is sent to China for them to make it because they can simply make it so much cheaper. So they control a lot of the raw materials to make pharmaceuticals. And you can see that China is trying to get around that because there are many videos and things being made of where you can just contact China directly and buy this stuff directly from them with no problem whatsoever. I thought it was kind of funny that a lot of the Gucci and Louis Vuitton stuff, all this high quality, expensive stuff that people are buying all over the world, and come to find out, 80% of it is coming from China. Yeah, I think the medicine is probably going to wind up being a pretty big issue, Diane, because when China pulls the plug, we are definitely going to be in trouble. Again, America is a consumer nation, and we consume a lot of medication. Just think 50% of the American population is on some kind of antipsychotic medication. What are all these people going to do when they can't get their medication? It's not that they are going to have us over a barrel, Diane. They already have us over the barrel. And that's exactly why Trump flinched the other day on all of these trade wars, saying that they were going to be able to work something out. And a lot of the trade stuff was, he was going to lower some of the tariffs. Because all of these retailers had that closed door meeting and said, look, dude, you may not realize it, but the shelves are fixing to go empty. And many of the products that you are probably used to seeing are going to go bye-bye or are going to be very expensive just in the next few weeks, because that is when the reserves that most of these companies have held here in the United States are going to run out. And that can just be anything from tires to car parts to medical devices to, I don't think they've done a lot yet on medication, and it was my understanding most of the tariffs did not include electronics. But the problem with that are these container ships that bring all of this stuff over, may have 400 or 500, 1,000 of these containers on them full of merchandise. Well, if that container ship only has 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 containers on it to bring over here, now that $5 million cost to bring that ship over here and the $3 million docking fee, to get it in our port, that $8 million additional cost is going to be added and divided among those few products that were actually on the ship, which again, drives the price higher. Yes, most tires are made in China. A lot of car parts are made in China. Most of the electronic stuff is coming out of China, but a lot of the steel stuff too. The steel stamp repair, replacement parts, bearings, shafts. I mean, just think about the industrial stuff, the stuff that we use on our tractors, the farming. A lot of that stuff comes out of China too, or Asia, just Asia in general, because many of these tariffs now are being applied to these smaller countries to where even years ago when tariffs were applied to China, they just moved their manufacturing over to Vietnam or, Bangladesh or wherever to get away from these tariffs. And now they are all being applied to these smaller countries. Yeah, well, junkyards aren't what they used to be, Diane. In many of these junkyards, when this stuff starts kicking into effect, all right, and they need the steel and aluminum here in the United States, much like during World War II, all of this scrap is going to be repurposed. So finding old cars are going to be more and more difficult because they're going to crush them and try and get their money back too when the price of scrap steel goes up. Y'all excuse me for a second. Let me walk over here and get some tea. Come up with some ideas on what y'all want to talk about. I ain't scared on none of them subjects. Cyber warfare, yeah, that's a whole other subject that I just don't think people are too aware of in general. China is in our systems. They have been selling us electronics and computers and cameras and all kinds of electronics that have back doors on them. I mean, you're not hiding nothing now. And I'll give you a little bit of scenario here, a true story on how far back these people have been watching and the smallest things that they are recording on you and keeping information on you in your little file that you have from the U.S. government. Just a couple of weeks ago here, me and Ann filed our taxes. And we did it all electronic, so you go in there and you do the e-sign on the computer screen. And I signed my name and hit enter. And a little window popped up on the side and it said, we want to verify that this is you. So their first security question was asking me, and now this is from the IRS. And I fully believe that AI is implemented on all of that already, keeping up with a lot of this information. But the first question that it asked me, and I know AI is involved in it because of the kind of questions that they were asking. There wasn't some person on the other end of this computer randomly asking these questions. But the first question that came up was, what was my address in Dallas, Texas, where I used to live? Well, I haven't lived in Dallas, Texas for at least 20 years, to which I really don't remember a lot of the addresses that I lived at when I was in Dallas, Texas. I was a young guy and I moved around several different places, houses, apartments, townhouses, I moved around. So, they were keeping the addresses of where I was from 20 years ago, readily available, to their computer, to their AI to ask questions. Well, I didn't have the answer, so I hit, I don't remember. What's the next question? Next question, pretty much the same thing. What was the address where you lived 22 years ago at such and such city? Well, again, I really didn't remember the address where I live. So next question. It asked me what color of Chevrolet Silverado that I drove in 2001. 24 years ago, they had recorded and kept in a file on me about the color, make, and model of vehicle that I drove. Now, the next question involves my son, which again is, he's 22, 23 years old now. And, they're going back 20 to 25 years into my past on information that they have readily available for me to verify that it's me. So don't think that they are not keeping a file on you and have not kept a file on you for a very long time, at least the last 25 years. Hey, thanks, Taco. That's one of my original tinfoilers. Yeah, Drops, it's probably been around longer than that. I heard they've been working on it since the 70s. But the internet has only progressed that AI knowledge and use and, becoming more advanced because it's all tied into the internet. And it sees everything that everybody does all day. And these computers can calculate and disseminate all of that information, as much of it is, just like YouTube. I mean, there's like 500 million videos uploaded on YouTube every day. And you see how fast the algorithms and the AI works. I mean, I could reach over here on my table and pick up my pistol and show it on this live stream, and it wouldn't be just a few minutes and they would probably take it down. So AI is very well aware of what's going on these videos at any given time. That's why people don't like to say, the keywords, all of the keywords that I say on here that get me in trouble. The AI picks up on all that, and it is watching all of it all of the time. I mean, just think how many people are uploading videos onto YouTube, and it is that quick to catch on. And anybody that's gone out and tried to shoot weapons or do target practice on a live knows. Hey, Smith. Yeah, well, here's my original tinfoil hat, but it wasn't doing enough, so I had to make a bigger one. And I got a sombrero around here somewhere that a guy sent me, so that when this one isn't enough to fend off all of the EMF, I'm gonna transfer this one into a tinfoil hat. Everything is going to be connected, Bonnie. And I'll give you another example here of how everything is connected and how simple it is for people to access this information. Y'all all probably remember the black Chevrolet truck that I had here last year. A couple of years ago, when we had a bad ice storm here, I was driving down my driveway, and being wet and snowy and icy, I kind of slid off of my driveway a little bit, and I had bumped into a tree. And it was the very right upper front corner of my right-hand fender on my pickup got about a probably an orange or lemon-sized dent in that fender. It didn't break the paint off, didn't crack the paint or anything. It was just a little dent on the fender, which was no big deal to me. I didn't care, so I didn't fix it. I just kept driving. Well, a year and a half or so later, I put up a post, showed many of y'all that someone had ran into the side of my pickup when I was coming down to the farm one weekend. A lady pulled over into my lane and basically had dented in and torn up the whole passenger side of my pickup, from the front fender, both doors, and along the side of the bed. All had to be repaired at the body shop. Well, of course, that was a big enough claim that, yeah, I'm going to file that. So I took it to the body shop and dropped it off and got my rental car and all that kind of good stuff. And the adjuster came out there to take a look at the truck, took his pictures, did his little thing, whatever. And a few days later, he called me up on the phone. And he's like, hey, Jake, I'd like to, go over the estimate with your truck with you. And, okay. And he said, well, that damage that you had prior up there on the front of that right front fender, we're not going to take care of that. But pretty much everything else on the truck is going to be taken care of. And even though the damage that's on your front fender is significant enough that we are going to replace that fender, I just wanted you to know that we had, noticed that prior damage on your truck. And I said, oh, okay. I didn't really deny anything. I didn't lie to him or, try and commit any kind of fraud by getting that covered. But he said, yeah, we went back through the police and the toll authority cameras and were able to tell that you had prior damage on that truck for some time before you reported the accident to us involved in this car. So this guy at the insurance company was able to access the tollway and the police cameras, which I'm not exactly sure whatever those were, maybe red light cameras or some of these new camera systems that they have out where you're being recorded. And they were able to notice that small dent on the front of my pickup. And of course, like he said, they covered the fender and replaced the fender anyway. But, he was able to let me know that they knew that damage was on that truck prior to. So just this guy working at the insurance company has access to all of these tollway cameras and all of these police cameras and different camera systems where they are recording you wherever you go. And many of us don't know. I know Freedom Inc. has talked here in the last few weeks about these Swift cameras or whatever it is that many of these communities, they're putting them up all across the United States. I wish that I could remember the name of it, but I mean, you would not believe how you are under surveillance anytime you leave your house. And you really don't even have to leave your house now, because every device that you have in your house, including your phone and your computer and your smart TV and your security cameras and all of those things, all right, AI will be able to access. You have the Ring doorbell cameras, and you have CCTV cameras on street corners, and you have, business, personal security cameras, and all of these cameras can be operated and accessed by AI when they're looking for something. And that information deciphered in seconds to track you and see where you've been and where you're going and what you've been doing. And they've been doing it a very long time. Yeah, well, that's kind of the whole point of having those cameras, Bonnie, is, you put up this security camera system at your house and you get a notification and you can see what's going on your phone. So most of them are hooked to Wi-Fi. I mean, if they're not internet-based or Wi-Fi based, there's not a lot of point in having them. Yeah, the older ones were recorded on VHS or CD or something where, if the thieves that broke in didn't steal your camera and electronic system, you might be able to watch on a videotape of who it was or something. But, the whole idea of the convenience and the instant, I see it happening on my phone, I can call the police and let them know that someone is breaking into my home if they haven't already been notified by the alarm system itself. We just really don't realize how much we are under surveillance already. Oh yeah, Smith, it knows everything. I can get in my truck and as soon as I start driving somewhere, it plots the most logical place that it thinks that I'm going simply by the turns. And it will update those maps, whether it be to our house in Houston or whether it be to our Tractor Supply or my feed store or the taco shack or, it knows and has remembered all of the places that I have went since I've owned that truck. And when I start making those turns, it knows where I'm going and plots the map for me right there on the screen. And it's not just that now. I mean, these newer vehicles are all talking with each other. That's how the whole Tesla self-driving, all of these cars are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, because every time you go somewhere in that vehicle using a GPS system, it is measuring down to the inch to where that vehicle is, whether it be in the lane on the highway or a parking spot or a certain place that you went to for a valet. It is remembering down to the inch, and that information is saved into the system and passed along to the next car, so that it is within inches. Well, the robots, Agent, are a whole other situation, and I think that is probably going to be part of the partial answer to our manufacturing problem here in the U.S., because obviously they are not going to be able to hire people, for the $5 or $10 a day that they're paying these people in China to manufacture these products. So since they cannot pay Americans to do that here, that slave labor rate, they're going to have robots building most of it. And many manufacturing processes can be automated nowadays with the technology that we have. Trying to confuse Skynet. Oh yeah, it's there again, they have been collecting and observing and storing and saving this data on us for, I guarantee, at least the last 25 years, at least. I know they have, because they have asked me questions of such. And not just anybody asking those questions, it's the IRS. the IRS that was supposed to be done away with, and our taxes were supposed to go away, and none of that really goes away. It just gets added to. Well, Susan, we can never really know the answer why, but we can all assume control. And control is a big word, but when it comes down to it, it is really greed. They feed you this information on TV, whether it be about a new medication or, some new food or some new recipe or some new car, and they make everybody want this product. I mean, that is the whole genre of Hollywood and the music industry. And, it has become social media to this point. They want to influence you to buy a product, to use a product. And again, the masses of people are, I don't want to call it lazy, but there's been all of this uprising about RFK Jr. removing the dyes from the food. It's been the greatest thing that is going on with our Food Drug Administration is removing some of these products and dyes from our food. Well, the simple answer to that is for you, the consumer, not to buy these products. If it's in there, just simply don't buy it. Yeah, the smart meters, they are a whole game in themselves. They can not only be turned off, they can just be regulated. And many of the people in Houston found that out directly. For those Nest thermostats and things that people installed on their house, Wi-Fi, it's so great. I can get here on my phone and I can turn my air conditioner up and down, and I can program it to come on 10 minutes before I get home so that the house is nice and cool and nice and warm, and it's going to turn off when I leave, and it's going to save me power, and all of these great things. What they didn't tell you is when it was sub-zero freezing temperatures outside, that the company could come in there and access your thermostat and turn your thermostat down to 60 degrees and override you out of the system to where you can't go turn it back up to 80 like you wanted it in your house. It is really a matter of convenience, Mr. Smith. I mean, that goes for the whole homestead self-sufficiency lifestyle. It is a lot of work to sit out on a few acres of land and grow a garden and raise some animals and try and raise healthy food for yourself. It's a full-time job. So many people that have a job that they work regularly from their 8 to 5 are not going to go to their 8 to 5 and then go home and work another 8 or 10 hours in their garden or around their animals for their food to eat. I mean, in the olden days, that was your job on your homestead, was raising your food. Because if you get outside and you're outside all day and in the fresh air, getting good sunlight and exercising and working and hoeing and tilling and planting and hauling and doing all of the things that you need to do to make a homestead work, you're very healthy because you are getting that exercise that you need every day. Plus, the things that come off of your homestead are very healthy for you. They're not full of GMO drugs and hormones and chemicals and all of this kind of crap. It's a healthy food and you're getting exercise. But it is a full-time job to do it, and you're not going to make any money. I mean, you may make a few dollars here and there selling extra stuff. Just today, I sold 25 of my little chickens for $130, $40. But I hatch chicks pretty much all year long. As long as my chickens are laying and breeding, I'm trying to hatch those eggs because I know I can sell every one of those chicks. And I don't really make a lot of money, but the money that I do make off of those chickens pays for their chicken feed, all right? Being able to keep the chickens gives me fresh eggs and fresh meat, all right? Good food to eat, non-chemical, non-GMO, non-any of that other stuff. And I get the exercise out there doing it. Any of y'all that have a decent sized garden know it is a lot of work to get out there and tend to that garden. Yeah, Drop's taking that initiative to get some side incomes and learn a little bit about the stock market and how those things work. People can still make money. It is possible. Well, I didn't have homemade chicken fingers today, Agent Smith, but did have a home-raised chicken. That's why you never got your chicken stands. I just hadn't made it out that direction. But like I said, we hatch all year long, so if you or anybody else get down this way, I don't mind bartering some chickens with you. Yeah, that's the whole thing with the IRS going digital. I mean, now, you know, they're reporting your Cash App and your Apple Pay and all of those little, you know, they came out and said, well, you know, we're not going to track it on anything less than $600. And I call BS on it. They're tracking every single dollar. And it's not just the income that they're tracking on that. Look at China and how they have their social score and all of that set up. It is a way for them to limit you whenever we go to this digital currency, and it is on the way. There's no doubt in my mind we are heading that direction. They can limit the amount of product that you buy. They can, you know, put a no on products they don't want you to buy. Everything is going to be taxed, Diane. Well, I think probably most Chinese that you buy here, Agent Smith, would not be very good quality Asian food. That's exactly right, Smith. They are going to be able to tax you on every single dollar that transfers through your hand. So don't think that they're going to be doing away with the IRS anytime soon. That is only going to get worse and worse. Everything. I mean, I won't get all off into the numerics like Montegraph does, but you know, when you start going down that rabbit hole of gematria and numerology and the way that the elites talk and send messages, and you know, there is a lot to it. There are many ways to make money out there, Drops. And even though the majority of a lot of the U.S. lives paycheck to paycheck, there are plenty of people out there that still got money. I mean, you can get on YouTube any day of the week and look at people that are still driving their $1 million boat out of the bay down in Florida to go fishing. Or guys driving around in their Ferraris, or, there are still plenty of people out there that are making money. It's not like everybody's broke. I was watching another guy today talking about the amount of private jets in the air. And I mean, there's just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of private jets flying around. Who's on all these private jets? That's just the thing, Susan. I mean, I think it's going to come to a time where it's really not going to be about money. I mean, the product is simply not going to be there for you to buy it. Well, Bonnie, there are many ways, and there are a lot of good people on YouTube that can give you some pointers and teach you some basics on how to do it. And, the stock market and things like that, electronic things are, if you're that kind of person that can sit behind a computer and watch bars and graphs and the market all day, there is money to be made in it. And it doesn't have to be complicated electronic stuff. There are people out there that need services. I mean, I'll just give you an example. There's a guy that comes in our neighborhood that he basically wanted $600 to clean the windows in our house. And our house has about 27 windows. And he probably had, 8 to 10 houses to clean windows on that day. Even at $500, a house, and you're cleaning 6 to 8 a day, that's $3,000 to, $4,000 a day just to clean windows with a bucket and a squeegee and some soapy water. Well, not all of the money, Diane, because cash is still king. If you got cash, it's not reported. But that's a big reason why they want to do away with it. Big geothermal greenhouse would be very nice, Drops. Mine is not geothermal. I wish I'd have spent the money to put in the geothermal when I built it, which I guess I still could, but it's not a cheap installation on a big greenhouse. Yeah, Bonnie, you should get with Drops. He's a good one. He seems to know what he's doing. It is really just amazing the amount that we are lied to. And I don't expect anybody to do anything about it. I don't know what they can do about it. Yeah, I don't need a job either, Drops. It's self-employed is the only way to go. I mean, in my mind, if you're working for someone else for $10 or $20 an hour, that just means that they're making money off of your $20 an hour, which tells me you're worth more than $20 an hour. You should just go do it yourself. Whether you're mowing yards or cleaning windows or pressure washing or guide fishing, or you can do a YouTube channel that becomes successful. There are a lot of things out there to still make money on. Now, it's not as easy as what a lot of the YouTubers make it out to be. And just because you got big numbers on your YouTube channel does not mean that you're making any money. There are plenty of them out there that I see that are over 50 or 60,000 people that can't get, how many people are in here right now? 23 people? They don't have 20 or 25 people in their live stream. Just because someone clicks on your little button down there to subscribe does not mean that you are going to get paid or that they are ever going to come back and watch another video. And it does take effort and time to make money. And the people that are successful on YouTube, it is pretty much a full-time job, because if you are uploading and making content on YouTube, it takes time to make the content, and it takes time to edit the content, and it takes money to buy the cameras and equipment and computers and electronics that you need to do all of that. And, I'm not saying that's for everybody. I watch a few guys out there that pretty much operate their YouTube channel off of their phone. It is possible to do, but it is still a lot of work. My wife was getting on me about I should spend more time on my YouTube channel. I should have, a successful YouTube channel, and I have a ton of content that I could upload and just make videos every day, but I'm just really not into it. I got too many other things going on that are more important to me. Hey, Moon, I didn't even see you in here. What's going on, Freedom? Out of all of y'all moderators in there, and y'all should be dropping links to all of these other people in there. We are all we got. If y'all don't share and post your own link, help yourself. Post your links, guys. Even if a few people come. I mean, that's the community that we need to grow ourselves. We are all that we got. Nobody is going to come save you. Nobody's going to come give you that $1 million. Nobody's going to make it an easy ride for you. And that is only going to get harder and harder. Jobs are going to get harder, especially as AI and robots take over. This is like I said a while ago. They're not going to pay people $20, $30 an hour here in the United States to sit around and manufacture these little gadgets. Because this little gadget, instead of costing you $10 from China, is going to cost you $200 here in the U.S. But they can have a robot that can sit there and make that all day long. So the job situation is not looking good for Americans. I don't care how much manufacturing that you bring back over here. If you can't manufacture the product cheaply, people can't buy it anyway. I mean, when 60 or 70% of the population is living paycheck to paycheck, there is no disposable income to buy those products. Taking away your life savings? Well, Susan, that's a whole nother video in itself. And I hope most people realize by now that any money that you have in the bank is really not your money. Unfortunately, years and years ago, back during the crash in 2008, when the banking system had so many problems, the laws changed. And when you went down there and signed the dotted line for your account, all of the money that you keep in the bank now is not your money. The money that you deposit into a bank now is you've become a shareholder. And when that bank gets in trouble, they can take that money to bail themselves out. And you become a shareholder in the bank. Gold and silver is, I have mixed feelings on it. And I do keep some gold and silver, not a tremendous amount, but I do keep some. But the problem becomes with gold and silver, everybody thinks that it's going to make this huge jump, to where gold is $10 or $15 or $20,000 an ounce and silver is $1,000 an ounce. And when these precious metals make that jump, it's not that your ounce of gold becomes worth more money. The ounce of gold itself has not changed. It is the amount of paper fiat currency that it takes for you to buy that ounce of gold. So your money is actually becoming worth less and less and less and less. So yeah, you may have a few ounces of gold, and yeah, the price of gold today is $25,000 an ounce, and you go trade your gold in and get your $25,000. Well, unfortunately now a loaf of bread at the store costs $5,000. That is the hyperinflation that people are concerned about, and what we have seen in the past with other world wars. I mean, World War II, people were taking wheelbarrows full of money down to the store to buy a loaf of bread. In most cases, the wheelbarrow was worth more than the amount of money that they had in the wheelbarrow. Yes, freedom. Our labor is becoming worthless, and it's only going to become less and less as this goes forward, especially wanting to bring this manufacturing back here to the U.S. because they're simply not going to be able to pay you the price that people are going to have to live to make these products. If they do pay you, these products are going to be outrageous. Your $1,000 iPhone now that you buy here that comes from China will now be $4,000 or $5,000 to make it here in the U.S. And I know Trump has already rolled back many of the EPA standards back to 2020 is what I had heard. But even those standards from 2020 are going to be too stringent to manufacture a lot of the product. This stuff right here, PVC pipe. Many of y'all are familiar with construction, understand how much of this PVC pipe is used, all right, in our modern infrastructure today. From the pipes that are laid under the ground to supply many of these, subdivisions, to the plumbing that is in each and every one of these houses right here. There are only a couple of companies in the world that make the chemicals, all right, to make this PVC pipe. I mean, there are many chemicals that go in it to make it, but there are only a couple of companies that make one of the products that you have to make this pipe. And guess where that product comes from? It's not here in the U.S. because the EPA regulations are too strong and stringent for us to manufacture this product here. So they send it over to China, and China manufactures most of the PVC pipe. And we ran into this problem back during COVID building our RV park, because most of the PVC pipe that we used for drain lines and supply lines in that RV park doubled and tripled in price. And we have been considering expanding onto our RV park over there again, and I just talked to the septic system last week, and he's talking about the septic systems are pretty much going to have to increase double in price again from what they did just a few years ago. Yeah, too many degrees. I mean, there are people that are college educated today that can't get a job at McDonald's. That's, I heard that Trump had reinstated the payback for all of the student loans here last week. But you have, again, that is part of this system, for the last 50 or 60 years. That's what everybody was told. You go to high school, you get out, you go to college, you get this degree. And when you get out, you're going to be able to go to work and make $150,000 a year. Except now, the people that are going to college, they're racking up that $150,000, $200,000 in college debt, and they're getting out and they're unable to go to work. Yeah, Freedom Inc. there, he's a pretty prime example. I mean, he's a self-employed guy that does construction. And, from the price of materials to not being able to get good help to, clients not wanting to pay the price to have something done. I mean, a decent price to where he can make some money. I mean, he's looking at switching careers and things to try and make some more money, a different technical skill. Yeah, well, that was, Agent Smith, that was just all the bullshit that we had to deal with before from Biden, not making these people pay back their loan. I mean, it's pretty much extortion from taxes, just like how they extort us every day. They take money from us every day and give it to other people. Or, spend it in their $36 trillion deficit that we have. All of this preparedness related type stuff it becomes, I don't even know the word to use. It's good to be prepared to some degree. I mean, what does it hurt to have a little extra food or a little extra water or some way to protect yourself around your house? But it is not going to be the answer because no one is prepared for this long-term event. I mean, it wasn't just a couple of weeks ago. We all heard they were passing out, brochures and things in Europe about having 72 hours worth of food and water and, how to take care of yourself during, a nuclear strike or whatever it was. Your 72 hours is a blink of an eye. I mean, look at the wars that we've gone through in the past and the Great Depression. I mean, many of those people didn't come out of the Great Depression for 10 years. All right. And most of the government officials now are telling us that we're in a position far worse than what we were during the Great Depression. And again, how many years is this going to extend out? I mean, we're not even really at war yet. Yeah, we're fighting lots of little, police actions back and forth, but it's not an all full out war. And if that is ever declared, between us and China and Taiwan or Russia and Europe or India and Pakistan get into it, and I mean, we won't even talk about what's going on over in Africa. if it does break down into a world event, if 1% of what people are talking about happens with the supply chain and labor and financials and food and commodities, if just 1% of that comes true, it is going to be hell to pay here in America. We are a very spoiled society here in America. We've become a consumer nation. They have taken the knowledge that we need to live and survive and be self-reliant. They have taken that knowledge from us over the last 150 years with convenience. Moon Sprout there in the chat, you know, she's a pretty good lady. I mean, she does a lot of natural stuff, herbs and remedies and, you know, that kind of stuff. That's the knowledge that you need to have. The key for many of the people here in this chat are taking a handful of pills every day from the pharmaceuticals. You know, and 150 years ago, there wasn't any of those pills that existed. I mean, if you had a toothache or needed some aspirin, you went out and found a willow tree and you got the aspartame from that willow. Or you went and found some mushrooms or dandelions or, you know, wild lettuce or whatever that it was that you needed and the knowledge that you had to make this medicine. Arkansas Wild Man, I don't know if he's still in here or not, but I mean, that guy gives a lot of good information about herbs and wild edibles on his channel. Oh, drops. I got half a dozen companies right here, right off the bat. I could list you, but I'm not going to go out and do them. I'm too old for that physical labor stuff anymore. But we have lost that natural knowledge that we need to take care of ourselves because these large pharmaceutical companies have gone out and gathered these same materials, whatever they were. They've all came from the earth and what God gave us here for them to make this medicine. And it's, again, much easier for you just to go down to CVS and buy a bottle of ibuprofen than it is to go out there and whack around on a willow tree and chew on bark. We try, Bonnie. I mean, everything that I do here is, you know, I'm in my own world and I do what I think is probably best for my family and friends. And many of the people here that I have communicated with and becomes friends with on YouTube know. Many of the people have the coordinates to my location here. And many of them have the invitation to come should things get bad. The people that have taken the time to watch the channel and have the same kind of idea and thought and work ethic and inspiration to do what I do, those people are welcome here. And those that have watched and paid attention and contacted me and become acquainted with me have those coordinates and how to get in touch with me. And many of them know that, you know, I would help in any way that I possibly could. We are all that we got in this deal. I mean, to think that the government or the county or the state or somebody is just going to come along and save you and give you everything that you need for a decent life, it's just not going to happen. And I don't want to piss a lot of people off in here that are religious, but the people that sit around and say and wait and think that Jesus is going to come and save you, you're going to have a very long and painful wait. The intention was not for it to be easy. The test is hard. And God gave you the free will to do it yourself. He's not going to do it for you. He may point you in the direction in many ways and give you that spirit, but it's up to you to actually get up and do it. and make it for yourself. Yeah, Drops. Well, it will have to be pretty bad for me to leave my place here. You know, prayer without actions. Exactly. You have to have that willpower and instinct to get up and take care of it for yourself, because nobody is going to do it for you. If you haven't learned that by now, you are in bad trouble. Yeah, Bonnie. I mean, I'm glad to participate in some kind of meetup, but I don't want to go out there and hang out and drink beers and bullshit and accomplish nothing. I mean, we had our meetup here and had, 60 to 75 people show up. And we cleaned chickens and we canned food and taught people about medicine. And hey, Bland, how's it going? Is it 12 o'clock? Wow. But our meeting here in Bland was involved. Teaching people about things and getting to know people and talking about these things that are important on what is going on. These meetups, going and hanging out and drinking beer and telling jokes and laughing and cut up, hey, that's all good if it's your thing, but the time and the clock is running out here, people. It's not getting any better. All of the promises that were made to us, those promises are not getting any better. They're not being fulfilled. Yes, teaching and sharing that knowledge. I mean, I had 2 people that came out here to my place today. I had never met them before. They were complete strangers. One of the guys fixed the windshield on my truck that I had broken, and I had another lady that came out here and bought some chickens from me. And everybody wants to talk about how hard it is to make this community of like-minded people, and you can't meet nobody, and people look at you like you're crazy, and blah, 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 blah. All of these 500 excuses not to do it. But 2 people that came out here to my place today are very like-minded. One of the guys owns 600 acres and is building his own, place, self-reliant place off in the woods, chickens and gardens and off-grid. And, he's got 600 acres just a few miles from my place over here. The other people have a few acres that are doing the same thing. They were coming to buy chickens for the same reason. This hobbyist play, YouTube content for clicks and views era is fixing to be over. You are really going to need to know how to garden and raise animals and, purify water and protect yourself. It is going to become very important. Everything that is happening faster and faster and faster, rolling down that hill. And these tariffs and things that are going on with Trump are only proving that to me more and more and more. It's like I said, one day the tariffs are on, the next day they're off. Well, this day they're 150%, but tomorrow we're going to drop them 50% and this and that. And nobody can keep up with all of these tariffs and everything going on and how much everything is going to cost and the supply issues. And go research it yourself. Those ports in China are shut down. Ships are not coming over here. And the people that think they're just going to go throw, a few seeds out there in the dirt and poof, you're going to magically have this production garden. I know some of us are lucky enough to live in fertile soil to where, yeah, you may get some growth, but yeah, that's the thing, Freedom. A bunch of those factories are closed in China. Manufacturing and production has shut down in China. And even if they started that production back up today, it's still going to be another 30 or 45 days before that stuff gets here. Yeah, it's just not practice, man. It is learning. I mean, things that I may be able to grow here on my place, Bland's may not be able to grow just 50 or 60 miles away from me. Things grow differently in different places. Yeah, it's hurting us all, Agent Smith. I mean, I done said there's 300 or 400 million people unemployed in China right now that are not too happy with their president. My understanding, some of the largest nationwide protests are going on in China that have happened in the last 30 or 40 years. But do you think the Chinese government gives a damn about any of those Chinese people? Now, I saw y'all's post about that, Eric. I don't know if they're dying from tariffs or disease or what's going on over there in China, Susan. There is no telling. I mean, the information that comes out of China is, sketchy at best. But there really ain't a lot that we can do about it. I mean, all of our major retail CEOs and presidents have already met closed doors behind Trump within the last few days. And they've all told him, with what is going on, these shelves are fixing to go bare. Ah, that must be Monica, not Eric. I thought I was talking to Eric there, Monica. What happened to you anyway where you got hurt? I've seen these last few videos where you hurt your back. No, Susan, Trump does not care. None of them care about us. That's what I saw. Eric had went up to Bar Runs thing. Yeah, my better half has to deal with China some, and she's talked to a few people over there in China, and even with them being as strict and regulated as they are, the lady was able to portray that things are not going good over there. But since they are the beginning of this supply line chain link break, when it shuts down over there, it's going to take a month for it to actually hit here. Your body doesn't know it's only 46. Shoot, bulging disc and severe spinal. Is it just like something you can recover from, or are they talking surgery or shots or any kind of good prognosis? Because living on the farm with back problems is not easy or fun. Yeah, that's good. Rest helps. Yeah, 2 months. I think it'll be here before 2 months, but in 2 months, I think we'll be in full effect of it. Especially if they don't change. And I heard today that Trump wasn't backing down, and all of the 146% tariffs were back on. And of course, China says they ain't backing down. So two bulls out there fighting in the pasture. Who's going to pay? We're the ones that are going to suffer. Do you think Trump cares if hamburger meat is $50 a pound? Do you think Bill Gates cares if, a pound of peaches is $100 at the store? And that class of people has plenty of money to buy the things that they need. Don't forget, they are still making millions and millions and millions of dollars, on these day-to-day trades, just like Drops is doing in the stock market. I mean, it wasn't, a few days ago, and, all Trump has to do is say the tariffs are off and the stock market is up 10 or 15%. Well, do you not think that he's not letting his buddies know that they're going to kind of, slip the monkey today and to go ahead and invest because it's a good day to buy if you're reading his tweets? I mean, is that not insider trading? They know when things are going to go up and down and what's going to be said and what's going to drive the market, just like Elon Musk. All he has to do is mention the Dogecoin and right straight up it goes. And he buys it at 20 cents and it goes up to 50 cents and he doubles his money. Well, to me and you that buy $200 or $300 worth of Dogecoin and make 60 bucks ain't nothing. But when you got a guy that's investing $100 million and it goes up 20 or 30%, well, you just made, 20, 30, $40 million. And even to Elon Musk, 20, $30 million is nothing. Yeah, Bland's hamburger meat ain't that expensive yet. Yeah, Bonnie, well, you say they're going to start testing in 2 weeks, and to be very honest and blunt, they have been spraying our skies for years and years and years and years. We've all looked up in the sky and seen it. And I know every single one of us that are over 40 years old, growing up as a kid, looked up in that sky and never saw a damn contrail up there. And now they're every day. None of that has stopped. I mean, I'll be honest, here in Texas, lately, over the past couple of months, I thought it had thinned out quite a bit. There's actually quite a few pretty blue days. But that doesn't mean that it ain't worse elsewhere in the country. And I even heard Florida the other day had passed some kind of law to make the geoengineering illegal. But, most of this geoengineering is done by the military, and they're not going to abide by these laws. They're going to spray whatever it is that they want to spray on you. We've all heard the problems that they're having with the bees. I mean, we've been having problems with the bees for years and years, but this year, whether it's just media attention or social media attention, the bees are getting a lot of attention. They're starting to notice that they're being a problem. And I personally lost a couple of hives here on the farm, so I know, there are problems going on with the bees. And we all know the bees are our biggest pollinators. But I'm sure Bill has a solution for their mechanical bees. I'm sure YouTube is monitoring me, Monica. They always do. And that's fine. I get to talk to a few of y'all guys. I know I'm not spread wild and thick through the YouTube community, but that's okay. I mean, y'all see, for the biggest part, what they are spraying on us during the day. We can look up and see it. Just imagine what they're actually spraying on us at night when we can't see it. I've seen several videos over the last few days where some of the farmers are planting, their heritage seed corn that's probably not even 2 foot tall and dying off and stringy and straggly and all that. But over here in that field next to them where they have their commercial corn growing, that stuff's 8 feet tall with ears all over it. And, so who knows? Well, the hat keeps them out of your brain, at least, anyway. This year has been a rather difficult year for us here on the farm hatching. I'm only getting probably maybe 50% hatch rate on my chickens. And out of 50 or 60 turkey eggs that we have tried to hatch, I've gotten absolutely 0. So it has not been a good year for turkeys, and the chicken hatch rate is pretty low. And there ain't nothing that's really changed since last year. I've got new roosters, older roosters, all kinds of roosters, and everybody's doing their due. But hey, KP, how's it going? Yeah, Blands, I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of people say that their chicken hatch rate is way down and no turkeys this year. And I really haven't changed anything. I've got one turkey that's sitting on a few eggs. I don't know how many exactly are under her. I do know that she has rolled out probably 5 or 6 of the eggs out of the nest. And, I know they have the ability to know if the egg is bad or not fertilized or whatever, and they tend to get rid of those. And she's rolled out 5 or 6 out of her nest, so I don't know how many are left under her. I hope that a few hatch, but I've tried switching male turkeys and just no luck this year with turkeys. I don't know what it is. And losing a couple of the hives, I mean, as far as I can tell, the plants in the garden are doing okay. Yeah, the incubators, I mean, the 28 days, you get in there 14 or 15 days, and you can see some development in the egg, but when you get, they're on to the end of that 28 days, they haven't developed any inside of that egg. So it appears that they're getting fertilized. There's just something else going on, and I don't know what that is. Which really kind of sucks for the chicken hatching, because I could be selling a lot of chickens. I sold all of the last remaining ones that I had today, the chicks that I had. So, I'm waiting on more. Yeah, drops. Well, I use pretty much a non-GMO scratch feed, and most of my chickens are free range. So I really can't blame it on the feed, and I use a local feed shop that comes from Oklahoma up here. It's the same feed that I used last year, and it was pretty good feed, but like I said, most of my chickens free range during the day, so I know they're getting plenty to eat free range. Very much so, Monica. Again, all of the preparedness is no guarantee against anything. We can only hope that it makes the journey a little easier for our family and friends and kids. I mean, that is really my ultimate goal. I know it's no guarantee on making it through or winning this deal or holding out for the 10 years, however long it takes. I just hope that it's, it helps. Yeah, there was the big stink going on about the Tractor Supply feed and some of the commercial feeds, but again, how do we know? You buy a feed that says it's non-GMO. I do have a few things planted this year in the garden, and I'm still planting. It's been kind of wet. I hadn't been able to finish, but I would definitely like to try and grow some corn and some maize and a few different things for my chickens. But there again, guys, you really start talking about chickens and being a homesteader and preparedness and raising your own meat. I mean, just look at the numbers logically. How many times do y'all eat chicken every week? I mean, 2 or 3 at least, maybe 2 or 3 times a week you eat chicken. Well, 2 or 3 chickens, and pretty much any chicken that you raise at home is not going to look like that chicken that you buy at the supermarket. It's not going to be the hormone, GMO'd, huge chicken. So your farm-raised chicken is going to be a lot smaller, and even though most of mine came around 5 or 6 pounds processed out, a family of 4 or 5 people, you're going to eat a whole chicken. So if you're eating a whole chicken 2 or 3 times a week, times 50 weeks, that's 150 chickens that you're going to need to eat this year. And if you're eating 150 chickens, that means you need to be growing an additional 150 chickens to replace those that you're fixing to slaughter. And you're going to need some extras there, you know. You're going to lose to predators or disease or chickens fighting amongst themselves. They die off. So you're looking at, raising 300 chickens per year. How many of you out there are raising 300 chickens? Yeah, you can't grow enough chickens. You're raising turkeys and rabbits and quails and goats and yeah, Monica, we're trying the same thing. It becomes a very difficult process to raise enough of that meat to eat. Monica and them raise their own cows, beef cows. I probably need to try and get a few rabbits from y'all, Monica. We had some neighborhood dogs get into our cages here and took out a few of our rabbits. I know everybody wants to fall back on, well, I'll just go out into the woods and kill some deer and shoot a few squirrels and, we'll be able to make it. But when you got millions and millions of people that are thinking that same thing, that are not going to be abiding by the hunting laws when they get hungry, a lot of wild game is going to disappear. Tamuk babies. Well, I might be interested in some if I could get them to breed. If you got two different sets of parents or whatever where I ain't mixing, I might be interested in getting a couple of them from you. Yeah, the forest will be quiet. You're right there, Drops. That's going to be people's first instinct, is to go out there and pillage the wildlife. And as that becomes more scarce and scarce, people are going to be pillaging off of each other. The good ones for the Texas heat. Well, I think I have eliminated my dog problem, so I'm about ready, I think, to rebuild my rabbit population. I'm going to try again anyway. Do y'all have, did y'all get two different kinds of emus? Did y'all get a boy and a girl? Or I just saw the one on the video today with Eric in the garden, so I didn't know if the other ones had made it. Do y'all just have them separated, or are y'all going to be able to try and raise and hatch some? One emu only. Well, the one I gave y'all didn't make it, so one of the babies that I have, if y'all are interested, might be able to get y'all one to breed if y'all can figure out what she is. I told Eric it looked like a female to me today that I saw in the video, so we still got two down there, two babies. I'm gonna walk over here and get me some tea, y'all. Kevin. Yeah, the two that we got left seem to be doing pretty good, and of course we sold the other three from the ones that our two grown ones hatched. I thought just keeping two would probably be plenty. The whole point of this chit chat I wanted to have with y'all tonight, guys, is even though all of the promises that were made to us, it doesn't look like things are getting any better or heading that direction. So everything that me and many other people have been trying to tell everybody on YouTube is still, we're still going that direction. The wars haven't improved any. The trade wars aren't going to improve any with the supply lines. Most of our food don't come from here in the U.S. So, whatever y'all guys can do to get out there and procure your own food and grow your own food and get out of debt are going to be some major things. Yeah, Smith, I've been watching that India-Pakistan thing, and they're both nuclear countries, and they've been at each other's throat for a long time. So I think somebody over there is itching to push the button. And with India cutting off Pakistan's water with the treaty that they've had for the last 50 years, you start cutting off a country's water, and that becomes an act of war relatively quickly. And again, not that I condone anything that happened with that tea error plot that happened over there, where the 20 or 30 people were killed. But it's just like the Ukraine thing. I mean, when the whole war in Ukraine started, there were a few hundred people that had been killed on the Russian border down there, or the Ukrainian border, and look now. I mean, we have, what, millions of people that are dead and millions of people that are displaced. Thanks for stopping by, Monica. You stay safe and get to feeling better. I'm not sure, Stuart. I think it was signed back in the 60s or 70s. India and Pakistan made an agreement. I think there's only like one major river that goes into Pakistan. And of course, India controls the flow of that water, and they had agreed and signed some treaty 50 or 60 years ago about that water, allowing that water to flow into Pakistan, because that is pretty much where they get 95% of all their agricultural water and drinking water and water for their industrial processes. So yeah, but there's only one river that comes out of there. If you got any property that was left to you, Bonnie, I would definitely consolidate assets and money toward the one property that's going to benefit you the most. And again, I mean, a lot of us here in the chat room are, an older generation, and it becomes very difficult to take care of all that stuff. Even if you got a partner or a helper, a couple of people out there on the farm, it's still difficult to get all of that stuff taken care of, especially if you start really talking about a bad situation where you start having the financial collapse, or, God forbid, inevitable EMP or whatever, the proverbial shit hitting the fan. Not being able to get, product or use mechanical advantage on your farm. having kids and being able to run labor from them will definitely help a lot, but it is a lot to consider. If things get half as bad as what a lot of people think they can get, you know that robbery and theft and stealing and, the marauding gangs of people looking for supplies are going to be an issue, which is going to require 24-hour security. And unfortunately, you can't do that by yourself. And the whole lone wolf, I'm going to run off into the woods and survive is, that's not what society has done typically over time. I mean, that's why communities come together and towns were built and many, many different, what do you call it? Hell, it just left my mind. Many of the different things that people can do are used amongst the community. I mean, just like, the blacksmith or the general store or, whatever. It's very difficult, Bonnie. I mean, remember back when you were 30, 20s. You weren't interested in none of this stuff. I mean, my boy is 22 and, I've given him a few acres over there with a cabin on it and he's working on it, but he ain't into gardening and raising his own chickens and raising food and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he's got his buddies to hang out with and women to chase and all that kind of stuff. That's a tough call, Susan, and it's hard to say. You never know. I mean, the problem that I don't think most people realize is living in the city or suburbia, you are going to be at the control and whim of the government. Whether they limit your power or your water or your travel or what you can buy or supplies that you can get. And, in some cases, in my belief, they are going to try to keep these cities operating. I mean, if we do happen to declare war or go into a world war, the cities have the ability to, not just the cities, but the government, has the ability to manipulate these power grids. They can keep power in an area and turn power off in another area. So I would assume that they are going to try and keep power on in these cities and these manufacturing areas, all right, for this war effort. And most of the people that live in the suburban countryside out here like us, they will just turn the power off because they want us in the cities anyway. So if the county or government or electrical grid is not providing service out here to these areas, it's going to want to make people move to town that are not preparedness, minded or related or set up to do that. And they're making that more and more and more difficult. I'm sure y'all have heard of the 3,500% tariffs that they're applying to the solar panels and solar equipment. I mean, if you pretty much haven't bought or got your solar installed by now, you're going to have a very difficult time getting that done. I mean, I know once you get so old, Susan, I mean, you're going to kind of need the help of a retirement facility. But those people are going to be, these facilities are going to be at the mercy and the whim of the government. I think one of the biggest things is if that war is declared or the trade war goes on much further, China doesn't have a reason not to cut off our medication. And medication is going to be a big one. Yeah, well, Bonnie, the problem with those generators and Generacs are they require maintenance and fuel and upkeep and parts. They don't run forever. And I'll be the first guy to steer you away from a Generac, even though that I have three of them. I mean, I've had one Generac that the generator itself went out. I got another one that the motor went out on, and we have another third one that's on order to be installed at our house in Houston. But there is not a lot of choices out there when it comes to a smaller home size generator to run your home. Generac has the corner on the market. And many of those parts for Generac come from China. Yeah, agent, I haven't heard anything specifically about the medication, but I did hear that they were cutting off supplies like gauze and bandages and blades and instruments and all of the things that go along, with that, with those meds in hospitals. I'd heard that, in the next few weeks, they could possibly start looking at shutting down some medical facilities simply because they're running out of those supplies. Yes, Smith, I mean, once the supplies that are here run out on that solar stuff, 3,500% tariff to get new stuff in. I mean, your $400 or $500 solar panel is now, $2,000, $2,500 for the same panel. There ain't gonna be many people buying solar panels. It's not even just the withdrawals, Susan. I mean, like I said, I think about 50% of the population receives some kind of antipsychotic medication, and those withdrawals are going to be bad enough. But for the people that have to have medication to live on, whether it be a heart disease or a blood pressure or liver pills, or I mean, there are so many different kinds of medication that if you don't get that medication relatively quickly, your health is really going to decline. And I know many of us can do without a lot of those modern conveniences, but it's not going to be an easy switch over or changeover. Just like having a wood burning stove. I mean, how many people out there actually have a wood burning stove in their house? Now imagine that you can't run down the street or, get on Facebook and order the 3 or 4 cords that you're going to need to burn that wood burning stove all year. You actually have to physically get out there and cut the tree and chop it up and split it up and do all that work yourself. I've heard many of the medications and prescriptions, they are limiting down to the minimum amount that they can give you, whether that be a 30-day supply or a 2-week supply, and come back and get some more. And I am very fortunate. I don't have to take any medication for any ailment that I have so far. Do you harvest your own wood drops, chop it and split it? I have plenty of wood out here on my farm, but for $150 a cord, it's hard for me to get out there and do that myself and split all that wood and cut it all up and haul it and all that when I can buy it for $150 a cord. Not that I can't, because I got the chainsaws and the splitters and everything to do it with, but while it's cheap, Rather than use my wood here on the farm, I go down the street and buy it from a guy. Yeah, PTSD meds, the antipsychotic meds are going to be a big issue, especially when they can't get them. All right, Wendy, you're up late tonight. Everybody's got, I wouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people out there got problems, and they have become accustomed to this convenience of taking a pill to helping. I got a buddy that hangs out. I don't know if he's here in the chat anymore or not, but, just here recently, he's been trying to get some of his health issues under control. The exercise and the weight and the blood pressure and all of that. I mean, your health is one of the few things that you can control through this whole scenario. You don't have to go out there and eat the McDonald's. You can get up every day and exercise and make yourself healthy. It's a matter of willpower. I think it's going to get pretty interesting over these next few weeks, guys. I think we're really going to start seeing some effects of what's been going on. And truthfully, I don't think that we have seen or know a quarter of what is actually happening. I mean, again, they tell us what they want us to know and what they want us to hear, and the propaganda machine. It doesn't even really have to get to a shit hit the fan situation, Jen. I mean, I don't think a whole lot of people are around anymore, actually, from World War II that can describe and tell us the things that are going to happen. Because when our government declares war, it changes all of the rules. Just like in the 70s, you're probably going to be limited on the amount of fuel that you can have. You're going to be limited on the amount of gas that you can, groceries that you can buy. I mean, if you look back, we're kind of going through the same thing World War II. I mean, during that time, look at what's happening right now. Look at the jobless. Look at how many people are getting laid off. I mean, all of these things are at all-time records and all-time highs. And how does the government deal with that? Well, when they take you to war, everybody is going to work for the government. Ford isn't going to be making Ford cars anymore. They're going to be making military cars. All right? All of these little manufacturing facilities around here, they're not going to be making oodads and doodads, all right? They're going to be making parts for airplanes. They're going to be making parts for missiles and bombs and sewing suits for soldiers and packs, and all of the population goes to work for the government. You'll be working for the government for the war effort. Yeah, he could probably tell you some stories, Drops. I mean, that was the whole thing. People were unemployed and broke and needed money, and how do you get out of that? You go to work for the government because the government's hiring. And they will limit everything else on us, the people, even your electricity. They'll turn it off out here to the country, but they're going to keep it going to those manufacturing facilities. And they have the ability to control that grid in that way. For the biggest part, most of us here in the United States have just not had to suffer through those times. It's been, you can call it the 90-year cycle or the 80-year cycle. Drops will know about that 90-year cycle in the market, and about this time every 80 to 90 years we have a financial situation, and things change. Whether that gets into the whole new world order thing. I think probably most people, when you mention the new world order, they get off into some, you get off into the religious tangent, and one world government and one world religion, and you get off into all of these conspiracy theories about the new world order. When, if you just logically look at those three words, a new world order, well, the only thing that we are familiar with is pretty much since World War II, in that America has been on top of the world order. And this goes into what I was explaining to you earlier. For the last 150 years, you know, they have built up America through our industrial revolution and the military and the world wars, that we, America, are on the top of that new world order. And through this time, all right, they have stolen and robbed and taken and screwed the American people and the world out of all of these trillions of dollars. And now that people are catching on a little bit and it's kind of coming to a grinding halt, they are just going to restart this new world order with China on the top. China has the manufacturing. They've been preparing and planning and getting all of that stuff together for 50 or 60 years for China to be on top. They've planned it that way. They have the people. They got the 1.4 billion people to do all of that manufacturing for the world. They have built all of these ghost cities to house all of these people that are, before it was come to America, live the American dream. You can come to America and, start your own business and go to work and make money and have a great life. And in this new world order, China is going to be that way. Move to China and get a good job and get a good manufacturing, and you can live your life and do all of this stuff because they are going to be the leader that's on top. And that's what you're seeing playing out right now with the trade wars. And Trump flinching here a few days ago, saying that they were going to remove some of those tariffs and lower some of those tariffs. And, we were going to work out a trade deal with China. It's just all flapping of the gums, because logically, you can't bring that manufacturing back here and make that same cheap product. And people ain't got the money to pay $200 for this product when I can buy it from China for 10. I mean, the elitists and the globalists are the ones that got all of that started, but we, the people, are kind of to blame for it too, because we're the ones that want that cheap product. And it's not that we necessarily want that cheap product, that's all that we can afford to buy. I mean, you go down here and buy a $2,500 40-inch American-made TV, well, you can get that same TV at Walmart, 40-inch, for $350. And it's still the same TV. $10 million, well, they got a lot to lose, Drops, if they're going down to 10 million. And if China goes to 10 million, there ain't going to be but a few million of us left. Remember, what happens over there, we're a global community, so it's going to affect us all. Whether we want to believe that or not, it is going to affect us all. I wouldn't doubt that a bit, Drops, and it ain't going to surprise me at all if they don't have some other kind of pandemic. I've heard about the people disappearing from the cities, but I think without jobs, those people are just returning to their small rural communities out in the middle of nowhere working on mom and dad's garden trying to live. I don't know that those 400 million people have disappeared or died. They're just not in the big cities anymore. 400 million people is a lot of people to die off in a couple of months. You're going to have bodies stacked. The bodies are going to be stacked everywhere. Yeah, it's really not that Trump is setting us up. We were already set up. I said it in the beginning. Even if Trump has all of the best intentions in the world, and he is for the small guy, and he wants to bring manufacturing back here to the U.S. and all of these jobs and all of these great things, that he's telling us, for us to go from where we are today to the dream that he has, is you're going to play pure hell getting there. People are going to do without. People are going to be broke financially. The United States is going to crumble. There are going to be some very, very difficult times to even get us to that position. Yes, in many, many years, Bonnie. I mean, by the time most of this stuff even starts to take effect, it's going to be time for Trump to get out. And, you can have the hopium and believe that Vance is going to take over or Trump is going to serve a third term or, Joe Blow is going to get in there and have Trump as the vice president and resign and let him become president again. However, whatever conspiracy theory road that you want to go down to believe in that is years and years and years away. And people are living paycheck to paycheck right now. How are they going to be in years and years and years from now? Living that paycheck to paycheck with the high unemployment and the layoffs and the supply chain issues and the food issues and exactly, Drops. They are all part of it. The elitists are all part of it. I'm sure most of y'all are aware. Go back and do the research. How many years ago was it that Trump filed bankruptcy over his Taj Mahal or whatever it was in his dealings back in the 80s when he filed bankruptcy? All right? We all remember that. We've heard the stories. Who was it that bailed Trump out when all of that happened? Do any of y'all know? When Trump filed that bankruptcy and got into all that financial trouble, who bailed him out? Any ideas? Any guesses? No guesses? How many of y'all in here? 17 and no guesses? Well, back during that time, in the 80s, I think is when it was, there was a gentleman by the name of Wilbur Ross that just happened to work for the Rothschild banking cartel. All right? And Wilbur Ross was the guy that worked Trump's bankruptcy deal and loaned him some $800 million, all right, to get him out of debt. Well, you move forward 20, 25 or 30 years and Trump becomes president, and who do you think Trump puts in as Secretary of Commerce? None other than Wilbur Ross, the Rothschild banking guy. right? So these people are all connected in that club. They help each other. What do you think Trump owes to the Rothschild banking cartel for bailing his ass out back in the 80s for some 700 or 800 million dollars? You think any favors were paid back for that? Those are the same names that built this country. Just like I said earlier in the video, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the JP Morgan Chases. Those names are synonymous with the Industrial Revolution in this country and the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that were made. I believe it was Mr. Rothschild that sent the scientist to the World Convention over in Geneva back in the 1890s that made everybody believe the oil coming out of the ground was a fossil fuel. That's the whole reason it was called a fossil fuel. They made everybody believe that it came from dinosaurs and plants, and it was a very limited product. And for this product to be so limited and only have a certain amount of reserve, we can charge an exuberant amount of money for its use and refinement. Do y'all know that oil is the second most abundant liquid on this planet? I'm not sure we fully understand where it came from or how it was formed or how it ever got there. Look at what's happened to the pyramids here in just the last month or two. I mean, come on. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to tell me that there are structures that are buried a mile beneath the Great Pyramid down there, and y'all have just found this out. You can't even tell me how the pyramids were built, and you want me to believe that now you have all of these subterranean structures? That y'all don't know what they are or how they were made? You can't even tell me how the freaking pyramid was made. How are you going to tell me how that mile underground city was made underneath the pyramid? Yeah, Bonnie, the looking glass. And you get in, that's a whole nother conspiracy theory rabbit hole that you can go down. It wasn't 10 days ago, our own government came out and told us in a press conference that they can alter space and time. Okay? I mean, right to our face, as plain as day in black and white, the scientists are telling you that they can alter space and time. And you go down that rabbit hole a little further and you go back and you realize that, there were books and novels written in the 1890s that explain, the adventures of Baron Trump and how Trump is the last president and lives in, a mansion on Fifth Avenue. And, these are books that are written 120 years ago. And they just happen to get all of these things right. I mean, the coincidences that are involved in these things, and now the government's telling us they can alter space and time. Do you think maybe they've been using that machine? How much space and time have they altered already? Could we even begin to understand it? I mean, who knows what they've done? That doesn't include everything that's going on with CERN, and we have heard the endless conspiracy theories about portals and demons and fallen angels and so much going on with the CERN over there. And none of us will really ever know. We will only know what they ever tell us, which ain't going to be a lot. Yeah, I'm not too much of a person that believes in coincidences. And now the government telling you that they can come out and alter space and time to your face? I mean, come on. What have they changed already? What reality are we living in? I mean, what was it, a month ago? They came out and told us that the quantum computers had already not only discovered, but had received, gotten information, and determined equations from 17 other different dimensions. I mean, how far down that rabbit hole do you want to go? Belief and theory and conspiracy theory. We only know what they tell us. You still have people today in 2025 fighting over whether the earth is round or flat, and the conspiracy theories that went on some 60 years ago with our space agency. Looking down at Walmart. I don't know what to tell y'all guys, man. I know you better be trying to grow some of your own food and being as self-reliant as you possibly can and having some way to protect yourself, because the things are only looking like they're going downhill. Yeah, the whole problem with the AI and the quantum computers and the technology and the robotics that the government allows us to see today, Agent Smith, is everything that the military is using and everything that is behind closed doors and the latest, greatest technology. We, as the peasant public, probably won't see that stuff for another 20 or 30 years. The military's been using AI and quantum computers for years. It wouldn't surprise me that they are not already self-aware, and that's pretty much basically what the government is using to make their decisions and kind of run things. And I know they were running a very large AI program over in Ukraine for the military over there. Assets and strikes and counter strikes and, working out all of that kind of stuff. Exactly, Smith. I mean, that's 20 years ago. It's just like most of the modern aircraft, fighter aircraft that we see in the military. I mean, what we see today is stuff that they were working on 30, 40 years ago. I mean, the SR-71 flew for 20 years before anybody knew anything about it. Yeah, just like the F-22. I mean, how long have they been working on the F-22? 20 years? I've told many of y'all before. I mean, in some of my prior jobs, I was basically a military contractor. I've been around a lot of that stuff. I've seen things that are amazingly unimaginable and unacceptable to most people that, they would see flying around in the air. Just like all of these drones flying around on the East Coast. And, I think they've been reported all across the United States now. And we never really got an answer for those. All Trump came out and told you was that they were for your benefit, they're for your protection. You got no need to fear. And all of the drone sightings and weird lights in the sky kind of went away. I mean, a few people still report on it, but you're not going to get an answer. What happened to, auditing Fort Knox? What happened to all of that gold? Where is the gold? What happened? Even if they took a live TV into Fort Knox, how do you know all that stuff is real? How do you know what they're going to show you is real? Yeah, it drops, but we're old and that technology has changed so much. No gold left in Fort Knox. That's why it's silent. Yeah, well, it was a great talking point and made all the Americans feel real good that we're finally going to get an audit of Fort Knox over there. But what happened? Nothing. Nothing other than banks all over the world, for the last 30 to 60 days, there's been more gold transferred around the world between banks than ever before in history. They were moving gold from London over here. They were moving gold over here from Europe. They were moving gold, all kinds of gold all around everywhere. Still can't flee to Russia. Yeah, everything is a distraction, Bonnie. It's just become distraction after distraction after distraction. Just like tariffs are on, tariffs are off, this is up, that's down, this is on, that's off, we're doing this, we're doing that, we got war over here, we got peace here, we're gonna sign a deal there, a deal here. Can't nobody keep up with it all. We're trying to live day to day out here. And we're seeing this much of what's actually going on behind the scenes. All of the executive orders and actions and stuff, none of that crap is law. It's just like what was going on during COVID. None of that shit was laws, and they're forcing it right down your throat, and people are agreeing to it. There ain't nothing that we can do. I know a lot of channels get on here and talk about wanting to stand up and do something and fight this and fight that, and as the general public, there really ain't a lot that we're gonna do. Every nail sticking up gets the hammer. And they have the masses behind them, no matter which side, right or left. Oh, I got the hiccups. Yeah, on to the next 5-minute news cycle, Smith. Even if we know they did it, Bonnie, that's just like the Epstein thing. We know they did it. It's just like the P. Diddy thing. We know Hollywood and the music industry and the elites are all involved in that crap. Whether you want to call it Pizzagate or Pedo World or, whatever you want to call it, we know that they were all involved. And it still doesn't make a difference. What difference is that list going to make that they come out and show you all of those names on that list that were involved? We already know. There ain't nothing that we can do about it. What are they going to do? What is anybody going to do? You're going to go stand up against the government? Suicide mission. They will never allow enough people to come together to ever amount to anything. You get 1,000 people talking about a revolution on YouTube, and the ATF and the FBI is going to be knocking on every one of your doors within 24 to 48 hours. And the way the laws are written today, they can just throw you in jail and throw away the key, and they don't have to charge you with nothing, and they can hold you indefinitely because you are a domestic terrorist. Oh, the reset is very much still on and very much in full effect. It's happening day by day in front of people's faces. And really, guys, you take all of the people. You can combine all of these categories that YouTube throws us into, whether it be preparedness or survival or homesteaders or 3%ers or whatever category you want to throw all of us into, the people that understand what's happening. What are we? A few million? 5, 10 million maybe? Well, give me a big number. 20 million? 20 million in the overall scheme of things is nothing. They just cut you off and let those 20 million people die like it's nothing. They don't care. They got another 320 or 30 million people to make up the masses difference that are going to run down there this November and vote. Get your vote in so we can get that guy in there that's going to help us. The one that's made all these promises to help us. We're going to audit Fort Knox, and we're going to do away with your IRS, and you ain't going to have to pay no taxes, and just get down there and vote this one more time, and you won't ever have to vote again. Y'all remember him saying that? Get down there and vote this time, and you won't ever have to vote again. You're going to probably see in the next couple of weeks how it really starts affecting your daily lives. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the gas, all right? Think about the gas pumps. Where does that little electric motor gas pump inside of that gas pump come from? Where does that nozzle and fuel hose that you pump your gas come from? Those don't last forever, and we got to have replacement parts. Where do those come from? Everything, guys. Batteries, magnets. Go look at where your Duracells and your Energizers are all made and where they come from. Your car batteries, look at where they come from. Look at all those rare earth neodymium magnets. Where do they come from? That are used in all electronics today. Oh, but it's okay, the tariffs don't affect any of the electronics coming from China. How long do you think China's going to agree to that? You're going to screw them in one side, but not screw them in the other side and expect them to keep shipping that crap over here? It's only a matter of time before China tells Trump they don't want no part of his deal. Because the communist China government people in control over there, they don't care about the 2 or 3, 400 million people that are all, missing, like Drop says, or dying or whatever. They don't give a damn about those 300 or 400 million people. The people in control over there got plenty of money. They got plenty of food. They got everything that they need. They've had the money. They stole the trillions of dollars from us. That's the whole thing with the Doge deal and Elon Musk and all the billions of dollars that they have saved us and all the corruption that they have found. If they found $500 billion worth of corruption and saved in the last few months, that $500 billion is a few little drops in the buckets compared to the trillions of dollars that they have stole from us over the last 100 years. The people that are moving these pieces on this 5D chessboard got plenty of money. They're not worried about the $500 billion that Elon found. Yeah, what happened to y'all's $5,000 check that we were supposed to get from the IRS that they were supposed to do away with? You're going to get your Doge check in the mail, right? How many of y'all are going out there checking that mailbox every day, looking for that $5,000 check? Hell, I don't get it drops. I just see a little part of it, man. I was smart enough a long time ago when I was a young man to realize and understand that the government was here to screw us and they ain't going to help us. So you better start taking care of yourself and making those preparations. And that's the only reason why I am where I am today. I mean, I've been at it for 25 years, guys. It's taken 25 years to get where I am, to get on my little farm, to get no mortgage, to get off grid, to raising my own food and animals and protection and all of the little things that I think are going to make my journey through this time a little easier for me and my kids. Is it going to be perfect? No. Is it going to be easy? No. Is there a guarantee? No. But the things that I have done and the things that I have put back and the knowledge that I have acquired, I think will make it easier on my family and friends. No guarantee that we're going to make it, but I think it'll make it a little easier. Well, hell no, Agent Smith. They ain't never going to send out that $5,000 check. They're broke. We have an equity problem in this country. I know everybody talks about the stock market every day, up and down, and all the millions and billions and $800 million lost today in the stock market. And the stock market is about this big compared to our bond market. All right. There are much bigger things going on out there than the stock market that are not looking good at all. But everybody wants to talk about the stock market. There are some bad things on the tracks ahead, guys. Some very bad things. It's only going to make it harder for all of us. And all we got are each other. These people that you see in these chats talking and hanging out in these YouTube channels with truther people, and just like I told y'all today, I met 2 people today that came out here to my place, introduced, got to meet, talk a little bit with, chat back and forth, gave them my YouTube channel. Definitely like-minded people, trying to do the same thing. And I help everybody that I possibly can, especially off of YouTube. I mean, I've sent eggs and chickens and anything that I possibly could to somebody that would ask. There are lots of things out there to invest in, Bonnie, but it becomes a full-time job sitting there and watching because everything is so volatile now. I mean, there are people that invested in the stock market 20 years ago that have the same return today. It hasn't gone up or down. I mean, they're still at the same flat rate through these 20 years. They're right about where it was when they invested. I think the whole key to that stock market deal is, you got to be on by the hour or by the 4 hour, and you got to be buying and selling. There is no relative money to be made in that stock market by buying and holding. You need to buy and at the end of the day, sell, or in the next hour sell, because when it's up, you sell. Maybe you only made $200 or $300 off of that trade, but when you're making 10 of those trades a day at $200 a trade, you made $2,000 today. And I'd much rather make my $2,000 today than I had wait a year to make that $2,000. Because tomorrow I'm going to try and make 10 more trades to make that $100 or $200 per trade, or even $50. If you're making $50 trades and you made $50 on a trade today and you did that 10 times, that's a pretty good day. And there are a lot of people on YouTube that will teach you, show you kind of how to do that, or get with people like Drops that understand it. You take your $10 and you turn it into 20. You take your 20 and you turn it into 40. Take your 40 and you turn it into 100. It doesn't mean you have to go drop 100 grand in the stock market and try and make your money back today. Those days are very tough, and those trades are hard to do. And you better have some money to play with and gamble, because there's a few on YouTube. Ann is watching a few on YouTube and learning. That's the thing. You got to learn it. We're not all familiar with how that system works and what button to push and where to buy and when to buy and how to buy and when to sell and all that. But you have to educate yourself and spend some time and learn the ins and outs and the tricks to do it, because there are a lot of people that are making money off of it. You make money going up and down on the stock market if you know how to do it. Now, me, I'm not really a computer guy. I got out of it 10, 15 years ago, and I hate my computer. I hate looking at it. I hate sitting behind it. I hate watching it. I hate the whole thing about it. I'd much rather go out here and buy a $3,000 or $4,000 boat and fix it up and sell it for $5,000 or $6,000 and make my couple of thousand. That's the kind of person I am. Or go buy my Bobcat for, $8,000 or $10,000 and fix it up and sell it for 15 or 20. All right, see, Bonnie, there's drops. You've got a few $100,000 there to play with. He could probably give you a few pointers. Yeah, there are so many things bigger than the stock market out there. The stock market is just the one that, that makes the mainstream media. It's the attention grabber. Outside is great, Bonnie. If you got $500,000 sitting around like drops, well, you can spend all the time you want outside. I'm a real hands-on type person. I want physical possession of my stuff. Ann is the same way. Y'all know she's, corporate lady. She's got 401k investments, long-term investments, stock investments in her company. And, just in the last couple of months, we've seen that drop off by 20%. What is the real correction of the stock market going to be? And when is that going to happen? Is it going to drop 50%? Is it better for you to go pull that money out of your 401 or, go ahead and take that 20% hit right off the top? Or do you want to let it sit in there for a year and take a 50% loss on the correction? There is so much out there that's, you got to be on top of it. I mean, it's no different than getting out here and working in your garden every day. If you don't get out there and spend time and effort and put some hard-earned effort into it, you're going to grow a bunch of weeds out of that garden. You ain't going to have no fruit and veggies. It takes time and effort to make money on anything. Just like I said, the guy that comes by our house in Houston and washes windows, I mean, that dude is well over 6 figures every year just from washing windows. The guy that comes by and pressure washes the driveway, and the guy that comes by and mows the yard, and the guy that cleans the pool, and there are services out there that people require, whether you're a teacher or do a little something on the side, or sell chickens, or fix cars, or resell stuff, or there's all kinds of little side hustles out there, but it takes effort. He might not teach, Bonnie, but he's probably got a course for $4.99 that he can sell you. Today only special. Price is going to go up Monday if you don't buy over the weekend. $4.99. That's the way most of these stock guys are on YouTube. I want to give y'all the little hints, but buy my course. I'm a multi-millionaire and made all this money on the stock market, but I'm still here on YouTube selling you my $199 course this week. It's going to go up next week, so be sure and buy it today. There are some decent ones on there, but you got to look around. Find one that you can listen to and, teach, learn. Oh, guys, it's 1:30, man. I didn't think it was that late. I wasn't planning on staying on that long. We didn't even get down the rabbit hole that far, but I do need to get up in about 4 hours and go to work, so I'll give you all a few minutes here to say your buys and highs and, drop a few links if you want. But I'm gonna have to get off of here. I know I haven't been making much videos lately or uploading stuff. It's just yeah, see their drops. There's the guys providing a service that you can do. It's just like my chicken guy. I mean, my chicken guy, he cleans and processes my chickens for $2 or $3 a chicken. And for $2 or $3 a chicken, I can't, my time is worth more than that. Well, thanks for stopping by, Bonnie. I appreciate it. I just wanted to get on here and chit chat with y'all a little bit. I might have some solar batteries you'd be interested in, drops. I've upgraded my system here lately, and I got some spare solar stuff sitting around that's ain't being used, so get in touch with you. You might be interested. It's free. I ain't gonna charge nobody for it, but well, Wendy, thanks for hanging out this late. Yeah, I've got to get up about 5:30 or 6 in the morning too, so yeah, thank all y'all for coming in and chit-chatting and stopping by. Remember, guys, we are all we got in this deal. Helping each other, information, getting on here. I don't know, I'd like to start something like that, boots on the ground kind of deal. It's too much for all of us to keep up with, so if we could start a little thing where everybody comes on here and kind of gives their news that they heard about today, might help us all keep up with it a little bit. Thanks, Smith, for coming by. What's the deal on you coming down to Texas? You still gonna try and head this way? I don't know if you'd spilled the beans yet or not to your friend, but 3 weeks? Well, you better get in touch with me, man. I sure would like to see you if you come down this way. Already have your place. Right on, man. Well, shoot me some info. Fort Worth, well, you're just a few hours away. That ain't too far. We could probably meet up and do lunch or something. Or you can come out here to the farm. We can blow some shit up. Either way. We'll send some of that money over here, drops. It's all good. Spread the wealth around. We won't mind. Right. Yeah, I wouldn't hang out too much in Fort Worth either, but it's a start, man. That's the biggest thing, is taking that step and making that start, dude. That's most people's problem, is getting the cojones up to make that first step. I don't know why. Are you putting up videos or anything, drops? I don't know why I ain't getting no notifications from you. Well, it's YouTube. That doesn't surprise me, but I don't ever see anything from you come up in the feed. I know. I think I'm probably subscribed to you. Let me see. Yeah, I'm subscribed to you. I don't know why it ain't coming up. Let me see here. The bell's on, notified. 4 years ago. Why, hell, that's probably why I ain't seeing none of your videos. 4 months. All right. Yeah, it's true. Drops has got some stock stuff up on there where he's playing around, so y'all guys listening, go over there and pay Drops a little mind. He might have something going on. I'll be able to learn a little something. Yeah, I hear you, Drops. Been too busy, man. I'm not one of the lucky ones that got 4 million subscribers and can get up there and tell you the world's going to end in 24 hours and make $3,000 or $4,000 off of my 10-minute video. All right, guys, I even stayed on a few minutes longer than I said I was going to. Y'all stay safe, man. I appreciate all y'all coming by and listening and chatting. I'll try and do some more videos, man. It's just all time. And like I said, most of the stuff I got to show y'all is just, it's boring stuff to me. I know a lot of people like to live vicariously through YouTube channels on stuff they'll never do or see or handle, but busy, busy, busy. But I do appreciate all y'all guys watching, stopping by and subscribing, and listening to my ranting. Y'all take care, stay safe, get prepared, guys. Do what you can. I mean, these next few weeks, months, they're gonna make a big difference. We're gonna see some effects coming. Knowing your stuff helps. That's how you do it, Drops. Knowing what you're doing, learning what you're doing. It's like everybody else. We all had to learn it, so learn the right things, get the key knowledge, and you can make a little money. Prepped up in 2 months. Do the best y'all guys can out there, man. I appreciate y'all coming by. Y'all stay safe.